Here we go. Week 10. This is day 26. BCA-101 Introduction to Computers. Okay, we did an addressing review and we talked about the internet, how it functions, and some of the uses. And mentioned briefly assignment 4. So keep moving here. So what we did was I asked some questions. For example, I asked them to find the IP address and the MAC address on the computer in the lab. So we have a PC here. They found the logical and physical addresses. Okay, then I said, you know, the PC is connected to a device, and so they're supposed to list that. And then another device connected to another device, they're supposed to list the name, and a third device, and they were supposed to list the name of that device. And then we talked about connecting to another device over here. We did the same thing with, I told them to use their phones. I said, can you find the logical address, physical address, where was the phone connected to, what device, and then we talked a little bit about how the phone's connected, how that's connected in. That was only if you're using the Wi-Fi. Okay, and this is a protocol Ethernet connections here. And then we talked about these are private addresses and these are public addresses. These are global, used out on the internet, and these can be used anywhere not on the internet. And we talked about finding this address. There's a couple different ways. You can type in what is my IP, or you can go to aaron.net. And when you do that, that would give you the address at the top. And those addresses are distributed by ICANN. Okay, so let's keep moving here. So then this was an address on the Wi-Fi for the phones. And this was the subnet mask. This indicates what part of the address is the network and what part's the host. A little more on that later on. And then we showed the connections here. You know, you'd connect to Wi-Fi, and then that would connect into this switch through a firewall, and then out to our ISP. We actually took and typed in a trace route, and we gave an IP address, and it traced this IP address we gave was Google's. And we did a trace route to Google, and I think it went through like 9 different routers before it got to Google. We also talked a little bit too today about if you're connected your data plan to a tower, that tower into your provider, and then your provider in through an ISP. And here would be a data plan. This signal here through the air to the tower is different than a Wi-Fi signal here through an access point. Okay, we looked at my.niac.edu, looked a little bit at niac.edu. Try to keep this short, keep moving. So then we looked at this big picture, at Google, and then I said, what would it look like from home if you were connecting in from home? And what's your address is at home, and then what's your address on the internet from home? Can you find both of those? We looked up tier 1 providers, the backbone of the internet, and how they all connect together. There's not a lot of them, you know, maybe 5, 6 in the United States. And those all share communications. They don't charge each other. And then tier 2 providers, let's just say Mediacom or the ICN, they allow other people to connect in. There can actually be a tier 3 and tier 4, but not as much nowadays as it was in the past. We talked about mail. When you send mail, simple mail transfer protocol, you send mail to a server. So if I'm emailing somebody at Google, okay, or yeah, let's say I'm using my Google Mail and I send mail, okay, then Google can send the mail to, let's say I send it to my wife who's on Yahoo. They can share that information to Yahoo. And then when my wife wants to read the mail, maybe she comes from home, she goes to Yahoo and brings the mail off of the servers there. When you go get the mail, let's use a different color here. When you go get the mail, you're using one of these protocols. It comes from the server to you, to your device. Okay, when you send mail, simple mail transfer protocol. This is post office something. I'm not sure what IMAP stands for. But you send the mail to the server and this gets it off. And those mail servers exchange mail all the time. So if the Google Mail server can exchange it with the NIACC Mail server. Next thing we talked about, copying files, file transfer protocol, and secure copy. This encrypts the information, this sends it plain text. We'll talk more about that later on. When we download, we bring information to our computer. Okay, let's say here's our PC. When we upload, we send it to another server. Seems simple, but people still get those mixed up. Virtual private network, we are able to send information through the internet, let's say between two locations, and we can encrypt that, and we can have a VPN, a virtual private network. We can send information to the internet and make it secure. More on that next week. Voice over IP, this is where we use IP addressing and IP networks to actually carry voicemail. Just talking to somebody. Okay, this would be, I guess an analogy would be this like Skype or Google Hangout without the pictures, just the voice. Okay. So in the big picture, what we did today was we talked about this communication out to the internet, and I asked them, where does the private address become a public address? And that happens right here at the router, network address translation. Okay, that's important. It's important to know that you're using a public address out on the internet. And the people who see that, the best they can do is connect you back to an ISP, which then can connect you, in this case, here to NIACC. But then NIACC would have to be the one to identify which machine it is. And in some cases, that's almost impossible to do. We could narrow it down to a certain group, but we couldn't indicate which machine here was doing whatever they were doing out on the internet. Okay, this you might be able to because you log in, right? If you log in to the secured using your ID and password, yeah, then they might be able to map you back to an address. But if you just go to open and type anything into that browser, yeah, there's no connection to you and the IP. They wouldn't be able to figure it out here amongst the networking equipment as it's moving through and out to the internet. Alright, well, that's it for today. So we'll finish this unit this week, the Unit 5. And so finishing up the assignment today, and then we're moving on to the project. And the project is long, but you have a couple weeks to get it done. And so we'll be talking about that starting Wednesday. That's it.